and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn.
Yo.
Aaron, how we doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm displaced here tonight in my son's room, but it's still a celebration. It's still a post-game celebration. It's way cooler getting stuck up here in my kids' room if we're going to be having a fun party of a post-game show. So I don't know if you got to tell everybody why we are excited, and it is a good evening, as you would say.
Yeah. We are here tonight, and you are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have defeated the Tennessee Titans 34-10 in a game that did not feel like it was going to be 34-10. This game was 10-0 Tennessee. There was infighting and arguing at halftime in the Cover One staff messaging group. A lot of frustration, and the Bills rattled off 34 unanswered to end the game. And I think if I have the numbers right, I think that the Titans in the second half of the game had like 52 yards total, and at one point had 10 yards for a long time. Their first 20 plays of the second half accounted for 10 yards. So the Bills defense locked in and ended up playing fantastic. And even in the second to last drive, when they ended up actually giving up their first down of the second half, it did go the first 4 drives of the second half. They combined for 11 yards. And then on the final one, we got a Christian Benford to Damar Hamlin, like, alley-oop interception where Christian Benford like tipped it into Damar Hamlin's hands for a delightful game-ending pick. It was a really, really, I would say roller coaster, but it was like we dug ourselves a hole and then triumphantly rose from that hole kind of game.
Yeah, I think this was a great game for the coaching staff in that, like, I think the frustration was all on lack of execution, but also it seemed like the coaching staff, the defense does this all the time, and it is frustrating, especially against bad teams where whether it's in the scripted stuff or those first couple of drives, they just give up too much. Like
play action, draws, screens, like every single thing when you're the underdog team and you know the other defense is going to be aggressive, they executed all of them and we fell for all of them.
Yeah. It's tough. I will say it is selling out on the run, which they did a lot of in the first half. You are going to have some of that spots open, and you almost want to dare Mason Rudolph to beat you in that way, right? Like, okay, maybe you get these 2 drives, but you're not going to do this all day. You're not going to go 4 quarters and get that. And even early in the game, some of those pressures were like showing up, but they weren't connecting, right? And that's probably the most frustrating part of feeling that. And then on the other side of the ball, I think the offense started I think you had a tweet, feeling predictable, right? Like you knew where they were going with it. And I don't know if some of that was like feeling into the game. Titans have a good defense, maybe try not to do too much, get too cute early, feeling them out. Eric, you talked about some of the infighting we had in that DM group. I think Eric's point was like, it's a new game, right? And we have all this information now about the game. Let's see what the coaching staff does. And I think they got passing grades when they came out in the second half of this game because it was a totally different game. Defense clamped, offense started moving the ball. They got guys involved. We had to feed Amari Cooper to get everyone to eat, but it worked. Everything functioned as we had been advertised to that it would if we got this type of situation and the defense played like they're supposed to. This is the way in the second half we view that the Buffalo Bills should look, but we get so impatient in that first half when it doesn't look like that for the whole game. And when we're expecting to go out there and drop 60, sometimes it takes time. And I think this was a great game for that coaching staff of facing some pressure early and getting a lot of criticism because it wasn't clean, but being able to make those adjustments to get your guys in the right position. And they did that, I think, in spades.
Yeah, I'm not going to apologize for being mad that the first half had 5 3-and-out drives, and 3 of those 5 were run, punt, pass, punt.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was mad. I was
And the
mad.
defense was, again, the defense gave up these early points and drives, but you almost felt like a little frustrated for the defense because they did force a field goal. They did get some stops and did some stuff early to get the offense the ball back to kind of get back in this game. And in that first half, the offense just wasn't able to capitalize. Obviously, later in the game, and I think it might come up as our sponsors drive of the game where there was complimentary football and capitalizing on those moments. They just couldn't put it together early in that first half. And it just makes you feel in those moments. We talk about feel and emotion during the game a lot here in the post game. And in that like first quarter, really, it just felt like, man, we're walking right into a trap. Like this is how teams get fallen into a trap where it's going to be one of those games where we make Mason Rudolph look like, hey, maybe this could be a guy. And but it only lasted really a quarter and a half. Like once they got going a little bit in the second half, you knew the defense was going to at least clamp up.
Yeah. Shout out to Lauren. We miss you, Lauren. I feel like this is the epitome of the trolled version of that had us in the first half. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
This is really, really good. I'm also ashamed that it's now 5 minutes and 52 seconds into this show, and I haven't yet gone Coop.
I know.
Really, really fantastic. You obviously a limited selection of plays that they could get Amari Cooper into the game, but on that limited selection, he ended up going 4 for 66 and a touchdown. We'll talk about the series rundown like we always do, but let's start at the top. Josh Allen, after a very slow start, he started out.
Start
100 starts for Josh Allen. Another start with no interceptions, no turnovers. Yep. He started out 10 of 20 and he finished 21 of 33. So he completed 11 of his last 13 passes on the day. 323 yards. That's his first 300-yard game of the season, I believe. 9.8 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interception. There was a third touchdown that for some reason the over-officious NFL decided to take away from Keon Coleman. Whatever. Ended up with 116 passer rating, a 65% completion percentage. Looked fantastic. The distribution around the receiving group was excellent. We did lose Curtis Samuel early in this game. I haven't seen anything there. We also haven't heard. It looked like an ankle sprain for Terrell Bernard. Those are the only 2 injuries that seem to pop up during the game. We'll have to wait for more info there. But the distribution in the receiving game was exceptional. Some nice big late plays for Keon Coleman. 4 catches for 125 yards. Looked excellent on his. And again, they took away a touchdown. He made an exceptional catch. I get it that, it would have been great if he could have kept the sliver of that one toe in bounds, but I'm not counting that against him. He made an exceptional effort on a contested catch to catch it with one hand, get 4 feet in, or 3 9/10 feet inbounds. He got 4 feet inbounds, but like 1/10 of one toe was over the line and technically took away a touchdown. Again, I mentioned Amari Cooper, 4 for 66 after dropping his first target, which certainly lots of fans were rolling their eyes on that one. A weird stretch where Khalil Shakir became the running game. Like the Titans were selling out so much on the run game that the Bills ran like 4 out of 5 plays as a tunnel screen to Khalil Shakir just to get them to not stack the box, which I don't mind spamming that if they're going to go down that path. But we ended up with 7 different receivers catching a ball. And again, 323 yards. Josh technically got sacked once, but it was, more of that was him kind of scrambling into a sack. So I think the offensive line was very good. And I'm not going to hold the rushing average against the offensive line. It's T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah.
You can't, if anything, that was part of my frustration is a couple of those plays were one time Josh checked into a middle dive directly into Simmons and Sweat, and I was screaming at my TV. Josh alerted into a dive into those two. So they're really, really good. We end up with 20 carries for 74 yards. I'm not going to hold that against the offensive line or the running backs, really. I think they both ran fine. But this is a team you have to pass against, and they did. The Bills ended up moving the ball. They were able to execute, ended up with a couple short fields. So the 389 yards is actually probably kind of deceiving, but the 7.2 yards per play really tells the story on the efficiency of what they had. This offense got a very slow start. The fact that I'm talking about these numbers and they started with 3 straight 3-and-outs and then punted 2 more times in the first half. So they put up virtually all of those stats in the second half. That was a dominant second half of offense.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you some of the ability to adjust, some of the ability,
Yes.
the frustrations that I've had with Ken Dorsey and Brady to this point has been like you talked about that drive where it was feeding Shakir the ball. Is
Yeah.
can you adjust to the defense in the moment, and can you find ways to get guys involved in the game and playmakers involved? And Shakir had been sort of quiet there, but what even with the limited touches prior to that, they were nice, successful touches, and it's like you got to find a way to keep those players active, and especially probably even more so now with Cooper involved in the offense, because I do think Josh is going to build that repertoire. We saw Cooper make multiple wide receiver one type plays where
Yeah.
it wasn't a good throw by Josh and he was able to bring it in. You're going to see Josh be able to trust that more and
There's
more.
another one where Josh got flushed where Cooper roasted his dude off the line,
Yeah.
but Josh got flushed the opposite direction.
Yeah, stuff like that. But I think with that, it's easy to go to that where you have to find ways to get Kincaid and Shakir the ball, because I think they're still playmakers. I think they still
Yeah.
help this offense to move in the way that we saw. And so seeing Brady be able to dial those specific types of touches up gives me some hope. I'd like to see him doing it a little earlier when things are getting stagnated earlier in the half and not having to take it into the half, because it's okay to flirt with the Titans like that. You're not going to be able to do that with KC, Baltimore, and some of these other teams. They're going to have to be able to make these adjustments earlier, but still you win a game, you go 1-0 on the weekend, you have some stuff to learn on. You don't need to be playing your best football now, but they showed signs they can make those adjustments. Now we just got to see them start a little earlier in the game there, Greg. It'll make us feel like we have to have this type of output in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is a celebratory mood. We don't have anything to be ashamed of. You beat a team 34-10, who is a tough team. We put up the most points and yards that the number one defense had given up all season. So there's nothing to be ashamed of here. However, there are a lot of teams that we can't afford to dig a 10-0 hole and to come back. This is kind of like the Arizona game where, we went down 17-3 and, we came back, and we shouldn't be ashamed of coming back. But against top talent, you can't dig a hole like this and just assume you're going to be able to make halftime adjustments and come back. But I'm not going to apologize for the fact that they did come back. They were able to make it happen. They were able to put together a very, very strong game and end up, with honestly, in both sides of the ball, a dominant second half. I think at some point here, I'll do the actual
You might even say
math.
complimentary.
I believe the second half. I'm gonna try to do the math real quick here without going
Math
crazy.
on the fly. Here we go. We should have some music for that, producer.
Yeah, if we had like the Jeopardy music going, I'd be able to get this figured out here. But it was 60. Yeah, so the second half ended up being 329 yards to 58 yards in the second half.
Yeah.
So 328 yards. That means you're on pace for a 660-yard game. 328 yards to 62 yards in the second half. That's one of the most dominant halves of football you will see in any professional football game, period. Like that, no range of opponents. Like 328 to 62. I know you often warn people don't overuse yards, but these were legit yards in those settings. What the results were. Yeah, and
it was
stopping them.
Plays, it was all the ways you count data points. Will also
27-0 in points.
Yeah.
So like the scoreboard supported it.
You made turnovers. You capitalized on explosive plays on offense. The nice thing about the second half too was the points that they did get in the first half. Cool. They came off broken plays primarily. That broken play to Keon Coleman in the first half was like your only offense. In the second half, the offense was dictating. You were doing those things, and so I think the stats will show the yardage. Like my problem with yardage is people start there and then they stop there. They don't go further. I think all the stats for this game are going to show complete dominance. But Greg, before we really get into other parts of this team on the big picture view, one of the most frustrating parts is at that second half, again, my mentions were littered with fire McDermott, Brady can go to, and I got the frustration with Brady like in the first half.
So you were reading my feed is what you're saying?
Yeah. But here's the thing, like everybody saying that also won't come out this afternoon and show like, hey, the way
they're also pounding their chest now
and punch them in the face also needs to be rewarded as much as we label throw the criticism. I'm fine. Let's have critical talks about him. Let's do it when he does bad things, but praise him also when they do.
You don't understand. The coaches were holding back the players in the first half. At halftime, the players told the coaches to F off, and the players took over in the second half and overcame the bad coaching.
Yeah.
I
Josh
say,
Allen's just drawing up all the plays now.
you know that I'm being sarcastic and tongue in cheek, but I swear to God, like
A
out
WGR
of the
caller for sure called that
no, no,
in.
no.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of our reach. I know that between like our downloads and the various different sources of people who listen to us, like, out of the like 30,000 people that just heard me say that, there's like 1,000 who were like, yeah, they did. They finally did overcome the coaching, and the players finally took over in the second half because they're incapable of ever acknowledging if the players are at fault in the first half and the coaching made an adjustment in the second half. So, all right, let's go celebrate and have a good time here and go through the drives. As we talked about, it was pretty rough. The Bills' first 3 drives were 3 and outs. The defense stepped up on their first one that the Titans did get a first down because their first play went for a first down on a play action. And like I said, it was play action, screens, and draws over and over again, just playing into the aggressiveness of the Bills defense. But we did
out for the run.
we did force a punt. Ryan Stonehouse is a stud. He
Yep.
rocketed several punts in this game. We then turned back around and punted back and had kind of an ugly one that ended up having to bounce out of bounds. And then the one where it really started to get frustrating, the Titans started moving the ball down the field, 13 plays, 61 yards, several third down conversions, and just continuing to kind of set things up where I felt like we were going to get off the field multiple times, and they kept picking up first downs, and it was kind of smart decision making and efficient football from Mason Rudolph, where like you said earlier, are we going to make this guy look like a thing? Is this going to look like Brian Callahan made some inspired quarterback change here? Because
like we made Zach Wilson look good. I feel like there's always one in a season where it's like, well, really, we made this guy look good. Come on.
Yeah, like it's.
But there was a lot of annoying ones too, though, where it was like, 5-yard gains that felt like you had them wrapped up, and just Pollard somehow got 5 and put him in a 3rd and short. And it's like you just kept
Tyler Boyd and Nick Westbrook-Akine in the soft spot in the zone multiple times. Chig Okonkwo in the soft spot in the zone. Like they weren't like roasting us. They were just, if we send a blitz, they checked it to the blitz side and threw it at the pressure, which is what you're supposed to do. Or they had well-timed screens, well-timed play action. How many tight ends were open on just a well-timed play action where they played into our aggression? And
it looked like Bills were sending a lot of run blitz early too, like bringing some of the safeties and bringing them on blitz. And that just kind of, I think Titans just put that in conflict with some quick leaks and stuff like that. Just
they
fill that space. And it's so frustrating being a Bills fan when this happens. But in the moment, I'm trying to like tell myself, like, can Mason Rudolph do that 5 times? Right? Like, can he do this drive 5 times? And it did feel like it in that moment, but at some point you're going to be able to get him into mistakes. But in this moment where the offense is playing bad and then he's coming out and leading a drive like this, it feels so painful because it is so many plays and just little gains and 3rd and shorts and giving up those. It's tough to sit back and watch bend but don't break when it actually breaks.
Well, hold on. It gets worse. So they get the field goal because we do get a stop on 3rd down. They get 10 yards on 3rd and 13, and it felt like they were going to convert for a second there. But Hamlin makes a tackle and gets a stop short of the sticks. So it's 4th and 3. They kick a short field goal. Kind of feels like a win. Like, okay, let's catch our breath. We had 2 3 and outs. We're going to be okay here. They come out. We get 5 yards on 1st down. And this is the one, I swear to God, I screamed at my TV. Like, we're set up on 2nd and 5, and Josh does the alert thing and like taps his helmet and looks up and down the line. And I was like, oh, good. He sees something in the coverage. And no, he checked into a dive directly up the middle with Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons on the field. No shock. We lose a yard because we ran directly into them, go to 3rd and 6, and that we took a deep shot to Mac Hollins on 3rd down. And thank God, like it could have been worse. This is the punt where it almost got blocked, and like the guy,
it looked like it was tipped.
He overshot the block. I think like he went over top and like either tipped the ball or like just went too far towards Martin and not enough towards his toe to get the block. So it ended up being a 39-yard punt. They get the ball, but there was a penalty on the Titans, so it moves it back a little bit further and saved us from it being terrible. But then the Titans go on their best drive of the game, 8 plays, 75 yards. First play, again, play action. Chigakonko, 26 yards. Balin Spector flailing and chasing him down the field. This is one where they checked into base set with a jumbo lineman, got us to get a third linebacker on the field and threw directly at that third linebacker. Really smart play by Callahan. To get us into that spot. Then Pollard gets his first good run of the game, but it gets called back on penalty. So we're feeling better. And instead of 9 yards after the penalty, he runs for 14 yards. Then another play action to a wide open tight end. More productive runs. It keeps moving down the field. And then we get off the field. It's 3rd and 3. We're feeling good. And Taron Johnson gets called for unnecessary roughness on a play that, like, letter of the law, it was.
You got to call it.
He went helmet to helmet, but in real time, I was really mad when I saw the replay. He did. He went helmet to helmet. I don't think he was.
It wasn't intentional.
He wasn't, like, Tony Pollard ended up being like 24 inches off the ground. Like, there wasn't anywhere to hit him other than going at him like that.
Classic
15 yards.
Bang, bang play, right?
Yeah, correct. So, I'm not going to be, that wasn't, the refs didn't have a great day, but that wasn't the worst call of the day.
No.
Then, all of a sudden you think you're off the field. Now you got to rally back onto the field, first down to the 11-yard line. They end up going, 2 runs. We actually get a nice stuff on 2nd and 2, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if Eric explained who it was in coverage. This is actually one of the areas we started fighting in the chat, because it looked like Groot dove inside and just gave up contain and gave Mason Rudolph a ton of green space to just, like, nonchalantly roll out and wait for someone to get open. And then eventually Nick Westbrook-Akine did, and he threw it to him for the touchdown. And I couldn't figure out who was supposed to be over there. Now, obviously, as the comment just came up down below, later on, like many things, everyone in this game played phenomenal in the second half. Maybe nobody more than Gregory Rousseau.
Oh my God.
He literally destroyed them. But in that moment, I was trying to figure out, like, hey, what the hell? Who was supposed to have contain over there? Everybody crashed inside. And I don't know if, like, somebody got caught up that was supposed to be looping around, or if Rousseau just kind of thought he could beat him inside and ended up just got caught. I don't know what ended up happening, but he ended up wide open. It's now 10-0.
Yeah.
In that moment, it's 10-0 Titans. The Bills have 4 consecutive 3-and-outs, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, the dial back a little bit to the Bills drive. I have this play marked to go look, because I think it was Knox was wide open at, like, with like a yard to go to get the first down, running
where
across
I ended
the
up
middle
going
with
deep
his
to
hand
Hollins
up.
and didn't have to.
And it was one of those ones where this is where I'm texting Eric off to the side of, like, what's up with Josh today? Like, why isn't he seeing the field? Obviously, again, same to the disclaimer you just made about Groot, he saw the field the rest of the day from basically here on out, but you didn't see that. And that's frustrating when the offense is struggling and you're throwing deep to Matt Collins in tight coverage and there's somebody underneath wide open. Like, you hate seeing that still. And then we get into this drive, and that 3rd and 4 where they got the wide open touchdown, that play, well, one, I think it's hard for a defense to come out after you think you've got the stop and then it gets overturned. I think that's always tough. It doesn't get accounted for into how the defense comes out after that. In that play though, I don't know who broke contain, but it looked like the broken contain pulled wrap out of coverage to come up to Rudolph, even though Rudolph isn't a guy that you have to necessarily break coverage.
It's still natural. You can't unlearn.
And how frustrating, swearing words, frustrating would it be if Mason Rudolph just, like, jogs into the end zone for a touchdown? Would be way worse than
watching Rudolph jog in for a touchdown would be literally backbreaking, like way more demoralizing than
terrible feeling. Yeah, and I think it just the amount of time he got in that short space stressed that zone, pulled wrap up. DeMar tried coming over, and I think it was just the receiver just sat in the gap in the coverage. And it just pulled too much conflict with whoever lost. I think you're right that it was probably Rousseau, but somebody lost contain, allowed Rudolph that time. And that was just a total loss on the defense probably on that one to give that much time to Rudolph and that kind of space. But super disappointing because, to your point, like, I can live with the defense giving up 10 early points. Like, I almost expect them to get worked on a little bit by teams in the scripted stuff, but you can't have your offense going 3-and-outs. Like, I could even have the offense not scoring. But 3-and-outs, Greg, like, you're just
we can't wait. We can't get our first down in the 4th drive of the game.
Until
that's not acceptable. Obviously at this point we're at a real low point. It's
Yeah.
very frustrating. And now we get the first down is to first off, credit to Brandon Codrington.
Oh, yeah.
Really
Yeah.
just
Almost passed right
overall
over that.
has been just a really good
Treat a
decision
lot.
maker
Treat to
and
lot.
just a treat. Like one, he's fun. Like
Yeah.
he's constantly like that jitterbug explosive. Like he looks kind of like Darren Sproles when he's playing. Like he has that kind of like Speedy Gonzalez Roadrunner legs kind of
Yeah.
thing going where his feet go so fast that it's kind of hard to tell what's going on all the time. Really heads up decision making the vast majority of the time here.
Yeah.
The one play where it looked like it might have hit Ingram, he scooped it and ran with it. This was the 27-yarder that he
Yep.
had on the kick return where he like almost had two face masks. Like two guys got him around the helmet. They didn't grasp the face mask, so it was probably appropriate not to flag it. But two times he almost got face mask, and then the one guy swung him around by the helmet. He kept his balance and then gained another 20 yards. Like he ended up going from his helmet got grabbed at the 21. He ended up at the 39, slingshot in around.
Here.
So he's
on that point, Greg.
Yeah.
So before that, the drive before that, Titans got their only explosive play of the day of 26-yarder where you said they exposed Spectre in coverage there.
Yeah.
They got a 26-yarder. From that point on, after the Codrington 27-yard explosive for the Bills ended up going on to win toxic differential in the traditional sense of 20-yard plays, 9-1 from that point forward. So to the Charles G point though here, Codrington is a spark. Like that
honestly
sparked a momentum shift in this game.
So the first play, we get a little pass to Shakir. It was normal play out of shotgun.
Yep.
The second play, we get the deep shot to Keon Coleman. Looked really, really good. Made a very, very nice play on it. Goes for 44 yards. We're finally feeling pretty good. And then James Cook takes it in for the touchdown on the first play. Weirdly, another 3-play drive, but this one accounted for a touchdown. So again, we were only on the field for a minute 27. The time of possession was bonkers in the first half. But we get it back in, and this is one of those games where, Tennessee's got to be shaking their head. They're completely dominating this game in every sense, and we go on a 3-play scoring drive, and all of a sudden it's 10-7 and kind of feel like we're back into it. And that takes us to the next drive where if the defense is going to be frustrated here, they come out, we have the momentum, we get, early on, they get a little plays, Pollard goes for 7 yards, he connects with Hopkins for a first down. So, okay, we're a little frustrated. He gets a first down, but it's DeAndre Hopkins. Like, it's not that big of a deal. He finds an open spot in the zone. And then Mason Rudolph fumbles and Terrell Bernard gets it. And, okay, we got the ball. We're at the Tennessee 46. We get the ball in their field of play. And we end up gaining 2 total yards. There's a little bit of noise in here. So Josh gets 10 yards on the first play to Kincaid. Then he's got to get rid of the ball. Oh yes, the Kincaid's catch is phenomenal.
Beautiful.
Josh sits in the pocket, he pats the ball, and he knows, you see him mad at himself afterwards. He just takes too many hitches, and Arden Key comes in and gets a coverage sack. Like, he doesn't see anybody open down the field. This is the point where a lot of people are questioning, why isn't Amari Cooper back in the game? And I think there's now been a couple tweets out there, he said, and they kind of confirmed he didn't know what the play was on his touchdown catch. So like, you can only play so many plays when you don't know the playbook, so they can't get him in there all that much. They obviously utilized him every play they could, but there was a limit to what they could do there. That sack knocks us back in a really critical spot. You go from the 36, which is not a gimme, but is a 53-yard field goal. So even if we only get a couple yards, it's still doable. And instead we get an incompletion, another incompletion, and end up having to punt. So we get the ball with a first down in Tennessee territory, and we punt it back to them. And it was the right decision to punt. It was 4th and 18. You can't go for it.
No.
But
and it would have been nice to see Bass even have an attempt at a long one.
Yes,
like if you could have I would have loved to see him get tested in that way. Because honestly, we'll get to him. leg looked good, short stuff, like,
Yes,
everything
it
looked
was
like it was
clean,
flying
clean
off.
day
I
for
would love to see
Colin
him
Ness.
have that attempt, but you didn't even give him that opportunity, and these are the ones that are so frustrating to a defense because turnovers don't come all the time, and you can go weeks without you playing good defense and not creating turnovers. And when you get them at midfield, like, I understand if you get it with a long field, we can play the punt game, and that's a win. When you get it at, like, almost in scoring range, I just need you to get a first down to get a kick and put some points on the board, and you go
Yeah.
backwards. Man, that's real frustrating. Luckily this isn't a turning point in the game for the Bills, but one of the moments that in a trap game like this, you kind of lose momentum in this
Yeah.
series right here. They end up getting it back, but you lose it for a second.
Yeah, so just had a chance to really fully recapture things,
Yeah.
end up giving it back. A lot of the comments in the chat here, just as an aside on Tyler Bass, not only was he perfect on the day, which obviously is critical. He made the formal numbers, 4 extra points and 2
Yep.
field goals, and
Yep.
almost all of them were dead center. Like, I don't
Came
know,
off the foot clean.
like, super clean, struck it well.
Yep.
And they said, like, they had a legit kicking
Kickoff.
competition on Thursday at practice, and I don't think it was he would have been released,
They should
but
have
I do
streamed that on
think
YouTube for us. That would have been
if Havlicek won the kicking competition, he would have been active, and they would have made Tyler Bass game day inactive, and they would have done a practice squad call up if he won the kicking competition there. I don't think it would have been releasing him, but I think they would have said, like, hey, we're going to give Havlicek a game here to check it out. So, one, good on him not folding under pressure there, and that thing can snowball when the yips get going. You know it on the golf game. Like, when things start going bad, sometimes it's really hard to recapture mentally, just to reset and get yourself back in there. So
See,
good
I'm
on
the
him for winning
opposite.
that.
I'm trying to recapture good because it's actually always pretty bad.
Always pretty
I
bad. But
operate
you're
in the
trying to,
state
like,
of the yips.
occasionally grasp
Correct.
at any good.
At any greatness.
Yeah,
But one
yips is your baseline. But yeah, good for him. 6 kicks today,
yeah,
all of them within like 20% of dead center. Like,
yep.
none of them were barely, none of them were doinks. All of them were clean contact, good kicks.
I actually, kind of a side note here, don't want to lose track on our pace here, but this is another thing I'll get accused for loving the coaching staff too much, but between staff and front office, I actually really like the way they've handled this. This is a super
Yeah.
delicate situation.
No,
It's fun to get on
didn't.
Twitter and make fun of it, but to have like the patience to try to get a guy's confidence back, but also planning delicately, like, hey, your job's on the line. It's a fine act to walk here.
And
Yeah,
I
I
love, so
love this.
Nikki and
Great point.
Harry both
Yes.
made comments here about that the crowd was very supportive,
Yeah.
cheering for him, supporting him, getting behind him. When some of this stuff is mental, like, having fans boo you, it literally
not good.
spirals and makes it worse. It's, so having that support was awesome and good for him, reinforcing that. But I agree, they could have just dismissed this as a, hey, we're sticking with our guy, and they didn't. They brought in 3 kickers. Those
He
guys
answered
did a
questions
kickoff and a
about it.
workout.
Yep.
He answered questions. They even said this is a results based business, and you have to produce. And they then had a kicking competition with the guy with the job on the line. Like, you can't ask the front office and the coaching staff to do more than that. The guy who won that competition kicked today. The guy who won that competition and kicked today went 6 for 6, and that's all we can ask. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I have no, I don't want to say loyalty, but I don't care if it's Tyler Bass. I just want a guy who makes kicks. The guy who showed up in the game today made kicks.
Yep.
If it's Tyler Bass, great. I don't care. I just want a guy who makes the kicks, and the guy who showed up today made his kicks. That's one game. We need more, but one game, and I'm happy.
Yes, I do care though. Bills fixing Tyler Bass is the best case scenario.
Correct. That would be better than
Yeah.
needing it to be. Correct. Is it Lucas Havlicek? I don't even know if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it.
I don't want to learn how to say his name.
Yeah, I don't want to learn what the guy's name is. I just want Tyler Bass to keep.
I want
this
to work. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So here we punt it back to them. The defense comes in here, and they get like a weird one where they start to move the ball again, and I'm frustrated because Chigakonkwo is doing things again, and that just makes me angry that we can't cover someone named Chigakonkwo.
Yeah. And it was everybody. It was like Tehran.
Yes.
Like everybody was just soft end zone, and he was just finding spots, like
just tight ends wide open over and over and over again. And now you get AJ Epinesa comes in and gets the big time sack fumble that goes back like 20 yards. They end up getting 2nd and 30. They get a couple runs, kind of give up plays, punt it back to us. And now I'm feeling really good. I'm like, okay, we got it with pressure. The defensive line is starting to win. We're turning the tide on defense. I feel pretty good about it here. And I don't I don't know exactly what happened. You made a comment in a text that they reset the play clock weird because we get the ball with 41 seconds left. We run it to Cook, and it's 2nd and 8. And I guess I don't know exactly what it was from a confidence standpoint or if there was confusion over the play clock. But we don't run another play before the 2-minute warning. We just and they made this decision with 19 seconds left. They could have even changed their mind and gone back and lined up and still had time. And they just let the clock run out. And I guess in hindsight, I guess they were right because then we took a deep shot to Kincaid and then Josh kind of scrambled for some yards and, we're at our own 33. You can't go for it with 44 seconds left at our own 33 and give them the ball back. But it just, I maybe we just needed the reset at halftime, but that series and the conscious decision to just take it to the 2-minute warning and not try to go down for more points.
Mm-hmm. I think,
and then 2 passes afterwards. So it's not like they weren't, I take that trying isn't the right word. They did run 2 passes right afterwards. So they weren't just running the clock out to end the half. Why didn't you run a play before the 2-minute warning?
Yeah, I think couple things. I don't know. One, CBS broadcast was really bad.
Horrible.
On a number of levels,
so
whether
bad.
it was the challenges, the replays, clock information, down and distance information. It was wrong consistently all game. And so the only clock I get to see is the CBS clock, but that punt felt like it was longer than the normal game clock as well. And I did see it actually change on the broadcast twice. They went from it was down to 10 and then it went back up to 40 and then back to 25. They were so I don't know if it happened in the stadium, if there's any changes on the play clock there, but that felt like maybe it was running longer. I don't know if there was anything there, but I think on what they were doing, running it down to the 2-minute warning, they had the 3 timeouts. I think they were trying to balance the fine line of let's try our offense not playing great right now. We don't want to give them the ball back with too much time. They had 2 timeouts left. I think that they were trying to work in a balance of hey, if we get a couple plays here on 1st and 2nd down and we can move the ball, we still have the 3 timeouts. The 2 minutes is enough time for us to go down and get in field goal range and tie this thing up or whatever it is. And not wanting to give the Titans the ball in any type of way. We've already given up a couple tough punts. Didn't want to give them the ball at midfield. I guess that's where I thought they were playing, was a mix of, yeah, we are going to go for it, but let's try to just kind of, if it doesn't work out, let's take as much time as we can off this clock so we're not giving them the ball back with any good position to really pull ahead in this game. That would be also super annoying. The offense did what they had kind of been doing also the whole first half, kind of justifying maybe something like that, where trying not to give up.
Well, and then to add to my agita, Sam Martin lets out a 27-yard punt.
Yeah.
Just a real gem. And so now I'm sitting there worried that we just gave them the ball at the 40. Any team can get into scoring range from the 40 and be able to make a play of it.
We just saw it last week.
Yes, correct. So they get a couple yards, end up getting a 3rd down conversion and a spike. And then I guess that was our result of, hey, let's not give up a Hail Mary, as they did bring pressure. So I guess that is a conscious adjustment. They brought pressure. We actually had 6 guys up towards the line of scrimmage, and 5 of them came and 1 floated back. Yeah. The other 5 guys were back.
And I think Rasul was up in press against somebody. All the defenders weren't back either.
Yeah. So maybe only 4 were back deep, which then made it kind of an extra anxiety because they start doing the pitchy woo play where they're running around, and they had more offensive players down there than we had defenders.
Yeah.
So when they threw it all the way back across the field, I was like, oh my God, they're going to score. I really thought when they had the one lateral that went all the way back across the field. Yes, correct. Well, one, it's the team we're playing.
Yeah.
And the fact that we had seen these other weird end of half scenarios in the Hail Mary last week. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh my god, they're gonna have another, like,
Yeah.
across the field lateral touchdown play." Thankfully, it didn't happen, but
No.
it made me experience that and
Yes.
think that again. So thanks to them
Yes. We
for
even have a term
making
for
me
it. I think it's
experience that.
called Billsy when
Yes,
something
it
like
would
that
have
would
been
happen.
the Billsiest, the
Yeah.
absolute Billsiest. So now it's halftime. It's, you know, there's
Get some orange
frustration, but
slices and some peanut butter
yeah,
sandwiches.
orange slices and timeouts, eating Uncrustables. Um, and we're in a spot here where I'm like, all right, I hate this game. I don't like anything that's going on, but it's 10-7. We're the better team. Just find a way to gut one out here. It's not going to be pretty. I even think I actually said there's nothing we can do that will make this feel good. Just get a win and dump it and move on. Um, it's really excited to be wrong about that because they
Yep.
open up with a sequence here that is, I think, both of our
Yep. Let's
Wester
pull
drive
it
of the
up.
game. You open it up on the defensive side, and I'll finish it on the offensive side.
Yeah, so, because I do love to mix in a complimentary drive here,
Yeah,
the
perfect compliment.
yeah, the Bills here, Titans get the ball at a half, obviously, Bills won the toss and elected to get the ball, aggressively, something that we
Yeah.
don't see, which gives the Titans the ball
It
with the lead.
Quick aside, I agreed with that. I thought they needed if they
Me
got a
too,
lead
yeah,
early and made Tennessee one dimensional, it was to our advantage. I also heard one of the commentators said that the wind was very
win, yep,
strong and choosing the direction had more advantage in case they needed a fourth quarter field goal, so
yeah.
that it was as much that as it was the possession.
Yep. And so you get nothing on first down, 2nd and 9. Rudolph runs for 8 yards here on like a scramble play, which it might be the longest run of his career. I don't know. We'd have to confirm that with stats. But then you get 31. Bernard, man, when this dude's on the field, obviously, I don't know if anybody has seen in the chat if what his status is or if McDermott has talked about that in post game. But when
Hopefully
he's
just a low ankle sprain. It seemed like
hopefully
that's what it was.
yeah, I mean, that looked terrible getting your foot stepped on like that. So I won't be surprised if he's got an air cast or something here leaving today with a sprain. But on the 3rd and 1, he gets in there and stuffs it. I think Smoot was in on this one too. It was just a full on effort. And we didn't even probably do the Bills service here, Greg, on the start of the show when we were talking about the sides of the ball. We jumped right into doing this part here of drive by drive. We didn't get into the defense and how good Daquan Jones, Dwayne Carter, Smoot, and all these guys played up front, which really allowed Dorian Williams and Terrell Bernard to look a lot better today than even probably they played. The defensive line played great. You got it here. And then on a 4th and 2, stuffed again. Like this is big boy football against the team that prides itself on playing big boy football in the run game and in short down distance. Like they're good at power rush. They're good at not giving up stuffed runs. And you stuff them twice here to give the ball back to the Buffalo Bills, who have had their orange slices and stuff. And so, what did they do with it when we got the ball back there?
So they come back after we get this happen again. That I loved the third down one was where, yeah, like you said, Bernard kind of did the over the top stuff, and then
Yep,
the fourth down one they just destroyed, and Dwayne
straight
Carter
stuff.
Taylor Rapp just
Yeah,
just crunched them. So we get the ball back here. It's only at the 41-yard line. Josh Allen right off the bat does nice pass to Keon Coleman, where he ends up breaking a tackle and getting more yards out of it. James Cook gets a couple yards. We try to run the kind of quarterback draw and get stuffed and ends up in a situation there where it looks easy in that spot, but I don't mind the play call in the moment. Josh comes right back, hits Dalton Kincaid on a really big play, maybe one of the most critical in this moment
great
where
catch again.
we're
Kincaid
doing
had
it.
like
Yeah,
3 or 4 just crazy nice catches today.
phenomenal catch, ends up in a really really good spot to be able to convert on a 3rd and 12 where we had not been able to get much of anything going. We then get an incompletion, but then here on 2nd and 10 from the 12-yard line, you see them moving players around. Amari Cooper is in the slot. He shakes his guy. He has space and gets a clean release, wide open. Kind of double catches it a little bit, but catches the ball. And his first catch as a Buffalo Bill goes for a touchdown, and just really a big sense of relief because not only do you get this drive of the game combo where you go down and take the lead in a game that you would let an inferior opponent kind of hang around in a way that was frustrating, but you also now got your new trade target involved. You're feeling good.
Yeah.
Josh looks a lot better on the drive. You convert on a big third down. He makes a really nice pass on the touchdown and just checked a lot of boxes where it was feeling a lot better. And for as rough of a start as it was now at least a sense of relief.
Yeah, I loved everything about being able to respond and give the defense a reward for getting a stop because he hadn't done that really to this
Yeah.
point here. And then, as you know, my house lit up. My kids were actually off the side playing, but then my son Cooper, who actually was his birthday this weekend. Happy birthday, Coop!
Hey.
Great
Shout out
week.
to your wife for an awesome cake
Hey,
too. That
thank
was
you. Yeah.
ridiculously awesome.
Very
So talented.
delicious too. I am
Yeah.
gonna have a victory slice after this of cake, but the coop in the stands, they were like, he was like, "Oh, they're
Oh.
saying coop." So he
Oh, so
loves
now
that.
both your boys got it.
We
Your
got an
one son gets
Oliver
to
and
wear an Oliver
yes,
jersey, and now Cooper's gonna have Coop
I
calls. That's really
I'm
cool.
gonna
I mean,
order a Cooper jersey
I
for
was gonna say
sure.
you got to get him a Cooper jersey.
Yes. So he was very excited that Cooper came out and succeeded, just like all Bills fans
Yeah.
were. And so fun. And I think this is where I tweeted like, or it might have been a drive later or a couple drives later, where it's like feeding Amari Cooper greater than everybody eats. Like just feed
Mm.
this is the guy to feed him the ball. But I think in that it opens up everybody eats. You got to feed him to get everybody to eat. And I think you saw that here later in the game because of this play, I think opened everything up. And at the time I didn't realize here, I thought we were still going to sludge our way through a little bit of a like back and forth, but this really opened up a party from here.
Yeah, it really was ended up being kind of a landslide.
Yeah.
So the next drive for Tennessee, if you look at the box score, it's going to tell you that it was 4 plays for 12 yards. But the players
It
on
was
the
like
field
3
ran
minutes.
8
Yeah.
plays. Like they ran 8 plays, and over those 8 plays, it took like 10 minutes of real
Yeah.
time for all of this to
What it
happen.
took a
So
game time? Do you have the right? It had to be like 2-3
two
minutes of game
two
time
minutes and
for
18
yeah,
seconds.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but they ran 8 plays on the. So the first one, incomplete pass, but it was illegal contact on the Bills.
Yeah,
Then they ran a normal play, but it was a 3-yard loss by Bernard. Sniffed it out
yeah.
and made a nice play. Then one of the most frustrating calls. Rasul Douglas gets called for defensive pass interference for trying to intercept the ball. Had
Mhm.
great position. Both guys were hand fighting. There was a
Yeah,
little bit of contact. He did not. He was going for the ball and just stayed in his position. He didn't
right.
like make a late move into him. He didn't like push back. He simply stayed where he was and tried to catch the ball.
Yeah.
It was really frustrating to get called for a defensive pass interference call there. Then the Titans get a penalty on Chigakonkwo. Then we have the Gregory Rousseau, Dwayne Smoot shared sack sandwich where the two of
Yeah,
them scrunched him in the middle. Then an incomplete pass, then a 3-yard
yeah,
run, and we end up getting them back to 4th and 15. And this was again another nice return by Brandon Codrington for 11 yards, being able to get the Bills the ball at the 26-yard line rather than it could have been all the way back at the 15.
yeah. And then now when we get into this point, real quick here before we get here, I want you to talk to the producer of your show into trading me Ray Davis and just figure out what I gotta do. Figure out what I
All right.
gotta do to get Ray
I'll
Davis
see if
from
I
Chris
can
and
I can broker a
facilitate that
deal
for
here
me because
between you and Mr. Seth.
dude, the I do those little like trend emojis on players. I didn't get to do it yet but Ray Davis
Oh,
trending all the way. How fun could
so
this
good.
run game be if this starts to click, Greg?
Yeah, I mean to have it as a legit like two-headed monster in a situation like this is really exciting because now Ray Davis comes in first play, breaks a tackle. So this is 22 yards, and I think 19 of it is after contact
Yeah,
because they had him pretty much like right after the line. It wasn't right at the line of scrimmage; it was probably like 3 yards down the field. But he ends up going for 22. Then we go back and immediately now do a play action with a swing pass back to him for 6 more yards. Then we get, I think, more encouraging than the Cooper touchdown was the first play here pass to him, which was just a completely blind back shoulder throw where he's like hand fighting with the DB, gets very late hands out on the ball and catches it really smoothly, gets his feet in bounds, and then goes out. And it just, that was a play that we haven't really seen all season where it's like, oh, oh, he's different than like that one more. Like he did shake the guy on the touchdown, but a lot of guys, when you have space like that, can shake a guy
Yeah, we've
where
seen
he doesn't
Keon
know if you're going
Coleman
left or
get
right.
space, right? Like,
Correct.
right. Even
This
Matt
play
Collins
was
has gotten
just,
open, but
yeah, this was a level of smoothness and professionalism that we haven't seen to this point. It's like, oh, that's going to be fun. Then we go back in. No, this wasn't it. And then we get a nice play to Shakir, moving down the field,
yeah, we're
and
like
we
in the
kind
red
of,
zone now.
yeah,
Yep.
we're down there. Shakir gets us inside the 18,
Yep.
and then we get a offsides where we were about to run the quarterback sneak play,
They
but
actually
he
look like
jumps
they
offsides.
stuffed it, but they
Yeah,
jumped
this is
off. Yeah.
kind of like, it's almost like when Philadelphia
Yep.
is in the situation where, yeah, we don't really run it against Vita Vea. I'm not sure like running it against Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons makes sense, but fortunately Jeffrey Simmons was
You had
cheater
2
pants.
chances to do it there, I think,
Correct,
too.
correct. You could have
Right,
done it a second play. And Josh also doesn't normally go right over the center. He usually
right.
finds a soft spot and sneaks his way just sometimes between the guard and the tackle. But anyways, they did stuff it, but it was because Jeffrey Simmons lined up offsides and got an early
Right.
jump. So we get the first down. So now it's 1st and 10 at the 13. So I'm almost a little disappointed here. We end up going for 3 yards. We get incomplete to Knox. We get incomplete to Coleman. And it's, a situation where, like, okay, we had a lot of momentum. I would have liked to have got a score there, but okay, we got a field goal. It's 17-10. And again, not knowing the final, it feels like a spot where, like, well, I really would have liked to have made it a 2-possession game there. A field goal felt kind of deflating, but like you said earlier, it just kind of opened the floodgates and we continued down this path where we're scoring every drive. And we did. We scored every single drive of the second half. We scored points on every single drive. So we go back. It's a 3 and out by the defense, and here we get a holding call on them that takes him back.
Bishop with a big special teams play
Yes,
right
yes,
before this.
really
Real
nice
nice sighting
open
from him.
field tackle by Bishop. He was isolated on their
Yep.
returner and just kept good feet, really good position,
Yep.
and end up getting a really nice open field tackle. We go through there. They get a holding call and it moves them back. Then they miss on a spot, the overthrow to Calvin Ridley. And here is where Bernard got stepped on in the game, and they end up getting a penalty. The play doesn't even end up counting because they couldn't apparently blow the whistle loud enough to stop it. So Terrell Bernard gets hurt on a play that didn't even count and should have been stopped beforehand. And then they try to do another deep shot on 3rd down. And now the defense is really rolling. This is one of those stretches where the announcers even start talking about it, where they hadn't gotten any yards. They had run their first 3 series in total, had at that point, I think, 11 yards. The Bills get the ball back. We now go right back to Amari Cooper on the first play. He gets a little bit of space and then ends up running for 27 yards. Shows, a lot of people were curious about the burst and acceleration. It certainly looked like he had a nice bit of it there on that play. We get the a nice couple runs here by Cook, and then we get like a weird one where I don't quite understand the rule. Dalton Kincaid makes an awesome catches the ball and goes out of bounds, and it looks like they kind of hit it and he fumbles as he's going out of bounds.
Right.
And apparently, however, I don't blame the Titans for challenging it, because if you have a chance to get it overturned and not count as a catch,
Also,
it could be really, really impactful.
This is like, if challenging it makes all the sense in the world, no matter whether it was or not, because you're up against the ropes here. It was like a 24-yarder, it puts him at 1st and goal. Like, you're desperate for anything to stick. So challenging makes a ton of sense for the Titans right there.
And apparently they come back and say the challenge was successful, and I was like, oh crap! But the challenge was successful because we had called him down by contact, and really it was a fumble out of bounds. So it was still a catch. It was still a 1st down. It was still the Bills' ball at the 2,
Nothing
which is
changed.
where they
And they
have the
kept their
ball
timeout.
marked already. But somehow that equated to a successful challenge. It didn't end up mattering. We score, 2 plays later with a nice little play action middle screen, almost like a play action to Johnson, but then you do a quick pass to Johnson after you fake the handoff to him, which I like that play. And So we score anyways, and now it's 24-10, and the kind of the route is on, and we're rolling. But just a weird play. I have no idea how the NFL can justify that. That was in what definition of success can the catch counted, and it's at the exact same yard marker as it was. You didn't change anything, but it was a successful challenge. I
think it was just a weird. I think some people took it the wrong way of like these refs just or don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the actual NFL ruling on those situations are, but I think that they probably also got help from New York in determining how to say that. And my guess is it's just like a really weird circumstance where there is something that can also be wrong on the play that the refs called and has no impact on the game, but because for stats keeping and all those things, they have to change the way the play was. And so it is not the ruling on the field. Technically, the ruling is a different ruling.
The way it was documented is Tennessee challenged that the runner was down by contact, and that was reversed, and that he wasn't down by contact. He fumbled the ball out of bounds. So,
I think it's just a weird anomaly of like that all happened on the same play. And
so here we've opened up with 3 straight scores for the Bills. The 4th possession for the Titans, they then again go 3 and out. We get 3 straight incompletions with Gregory Rousseau pressuring them in almost every single play. And talk
Jones,
about
Smoot, again, all these guys were just blasted. They tried to run a screen on this 2nd and 10, and just I've never seen the type of pressure in somebody's face on a screen. Didn't even give him a chance.
Gregory Rousseau technically only had a half a sack today. That's what the box score is going to show you.
9 hits.
Had 6 quarterback hits. Okay. 6 quarterback hits on the day, plus another tackle for a loss. So 5 tackles, technically only a half a sack. And
sacks
with
overrated.
6 quarter. Oh yeah, this is a perfect example where he had a phenomenal game with a ton of pressure.
So disruptive.
But technically, is going to show that he had a half a sack.
Yeah.
So again, that's now 4 drives. On those 4 drives, the Tennessee Titans ran 14 plays for 11 yards. That was their second half. The Bills had scored on every single drive. The Bills get the ball back here. They go on a 10-play, 59-yard drive. This is the Khalil Shakir screen drive.
Yeah. He gets 5 catches for 50 yards on this drive, dude.
Yeah. And literally 5 out of 6 plays.
Yeah.
So short middle to Khalil Shakir, 4 yards. Short middle to Khalil Shakir, 18 yards. Short middle to Khalil Shakir, 2 yards. Then they did throw to Amari Cooper, another nice one.
This was that Cooper catch, 2nd and 8, where I think to the one you made the point on the sideline earlier, this was to me the difference maker of this was a throw that was probably behind by like 2 yards. Josh did
We've
not
seen
put
this
the ball
incomplete
in a good spot.
All the time.
Yeah, and guys just like clapping at it. And this was a really nice catch for him. And that's the kind of stuff that's like also he fought through a defensive pass interference. Like there was
didn't
contact to the face, contact
super
to the head,
late eyes on the ball. Didn't see it till the last second.
Fought through that and then was able to make a contested grab. That's wide receiver 1 stuff. When people talk about like that alpha, whatever you want to call it, that's the guy that has the ability to fight through that and make a catch on an off-target throw. That's different.
Very, very nice. Super helpful. Then right back to it. Khalil Shakir short middle for 20 yards. Khalil Shakir short left for 6 yards. So they literally just found that
they had to give him a break. He needed
if you guys are going to stack the box, we are just going to spam this until you make us stop,
or he's out of breath.
Or until he's out of breath. So they had to give him a breather. Yeah. Then James Cook ran for a yard. And then we saw, this is where we had got robbed, where it's 3rd and 3. Josh Allen throws a perfect back shoulder ball. Keon Coleman makes like a one-handed grab while his other arm's being grabbed, which of course isn't called either for any illegal contact or anything that direction. You have Keon Coleman makes the catch, gets 2 feet in, and it certainly looks like his hand is there. He does get 2 feet in. He then gets a 3rd foot down. The 3rd foot down has the edge of his toe out of bounds, and the ball shifts just enough as he's getting his 4th foot back in bounds that it technically meant that the first 2 feet didn't count enough to score. But what I don't get is, like, if you have the catch and you break the plane, isn't the play done? Doesn't it not matter that the ball shifted a little bit afterwards? I don't get it. Whatever. They robbed Keon Coleman of a touchdown and Josh Allen of a touchdown pass.
CBS also so frustrating on this one because the I forget who it was. I think it was McCourty trying to make
Yes,
the point that
McCourty
it was his
was calling
third
out exactly
step.
what was going on.
Yeah, that it was the third step, and he was like, "Can you guys like rewind it?" And they just kept going back to the same step, and he's like, "No, it's not."
That's the third foot out of bounds.
Yes.
I'm talking about the 2 steps before
Correct.
that.
And they just wouldn't show it the right way. I thought it was what McCourty was suggesting, but I do think there's a silver lining in this in a weird way. Like the touchdown would have been over the top.
Yeah.
Mr. Brightside singing like crazy throughout Western New York. But we got to roll Tyler Bass out for a field goal, and that's not nothing right now.
Correct.
To the point we talked about, like this was
Comes
a blessing
out,
in disguise that we get a kick from him.
Keeps the confidence going, feeling good. He converts. Now the Titans actually come back and get their first like real drive of the second half.
Yep.
They get their first down.
Those are playing pretty soft.
Yes, they're playing off. The first down that they got was kind of a gimme. They're moving down a little bit at a time. They end up converting on a third down. The one was a nice play. The one that Boyd got was a nice conversion. They then are in a spot where now we get another sack. Daquan Jones is there, and Rudolph's getting pressured every single play through this drive. And on 3rd and 4 at the Bills 20, you now go up and Christian Benford's in perfect coverage, and DeMar Hamlin gets himself in position where Benford breaks up the pass, and Hamlin's sitting right there to just kind of catch it as he's falling to the ground. He actually bumped into Benford, and as he's falling to the ground, the ball falls right in his belly, gets a really nice pick, and gets a turnover for the defense. And the Bills don't waste it. They come back the very first play. Keon Coleman it's super similar to the 4th down touchdown he had earlier this season, where it was actually like a pretty quick RPO slant, but he breaks the tackle and then runs. And this time he ran for 57 yards, goes down there. They actually went back to him again, almost like they're trying to get him the touchdown. And then Ray Davis gets the like game salting touchdown to go up 34-10. Titans kind of run the clock out here they almost like take a knee for us as they go through here. Bills wrap it up 34-10. Just a dominant game. Really, really nice performance. And now after all the anxiety and everything that we felt in the first half, we now are sitting here with a dominant victory that's going to end up looking great on paper.
5-2, baby. That's all. I mean, at halftime, we talked about it. Like, you just got to find a way, get 5-2. Not only did they find a way, they found the way to make it a confident 5-2, right? You handled business. That was what I tweeted out before the game started was this isn't a team that should hang around. They hung around a little bit longer than they should have in this game. They had no business at home against a team that how good I believe the Buffalo Bills are. I think the scoreboard is indicative of what the game should have been. I think I had it 27-17 or something. It was looking like it could have been that. They just flipped that final possession. But you did what you were supposed to against the spread, against the big spread like that. You didn't fall trap to it. There's a lot of things to walk away from this game, even though the first half was anxiety inducing and not fun and brought up all those negative feelings we have about the Bills that are underlying. We were able to exercise those in the second half of this was exactly the Buffalo Bills experience. We saw about how bad they can be when the offense just can't do anything and the defense is giving up those early scores, but then clamps down. And we've seen games where that continues all game, but then they can play perfect football, literally perfect football for full games, but at least in this half. And I think that's probably the most frustrating thing in this McDermott era with Josh Allen is the variance of what Bills are going to show up. And we got both of them today.
Yep. And as Levi's here saying Houston lost, the Dolphins lost. So now the division is now a 2.5 game lead with one in hand over the Jets and the Dolphins. We get a loss from the Texans. I'm sure people are watching Niners Chiefs here now as the Chiefs take an early lead. But overall, they did all the right things to be able to get themselves in position here and are now taking care of business when they were supposed to. It's what we talked about Wednesday night when Mike was on. You got to take care of business and do what you need to do on games like this. And again, we made it a little more anxiety ridden than what it needed to be. Producer Chris with some fun comments here from the post-game press conference. McDermott did not have any update on Bernard or Samuel, but of course he talked about the complimentary football that was there, and that Amari Cooper said in the postgame that he knew he was playing the second that he got traded, and made a point to congratulate young buck Keon Coleman on his first 100-yard game. So I heard another comment from Nick Saban that said in the 3 years that he was in Alabama, he's not sure if they had one conversation all 3 years. Said that he's a really quiet dude, but a really, really smart player. And looking forward to more of that, of what's there. And I think just the fact that we saw the production that we did when he, I won't be surprised if he ends up showing that he played like 40% of the snaps. I would guess that it's probably somewhere around there. Okay, and that we saw that kind of production in that 40-50% snap range, that it should get people excited about what the potential is for the rest of the way here. And exactly what we talked about after the trade, that it just lets everybody else slot down one notch. That the gravity you talked about makes it easier for Keon Coleman. It makes it easier for Khalil Shakir. It makes it easier for Dalton Kincaid. It makes it that now Mac Hollins is a nice fifth receiver and not a counted on primary snap guy. We even saw a little bit too much of that today. That'll be taken care of with another week of practice. But just in a really, really healthy spot where it helps everybody else on the offense. And now this 3-headed running attack. One of the guys here commented that all 3 running backs had a touchdown today. You combine this 3-headed, James saying all 3 running backs scored. So now you're having this, the diversity and the gravity that he brings on the passing game lets everybody else produce better. And you have this 3-headed rushing attack.
And we haven't even traded for Kamara yet.
Cook.
Right?
We haven't welcomed back a certain safety that I'm pretty sure is stretching out his hammies as we speak here. That I'm going to be excited to welcome back into the fold. I needed today. I needed this second half. I needed it.
Yeah, no, this is good for us. Again, doesn't always matter how you get there, but it is more fun when it's dominant, and you get to see all of the things. Again, the first half, super anxiety inducing, gave us all the concerns I think that we have for this team and how poorly they can play. But being able to get over that within a game and move on, I think it's credit to the coaching staff. I think it's credit to the type of players you have in this building. This is a team that's tested, and a lot of teams, and even this team in the past, has fallen in games like this. And so don't discount, it's just the Titans or whatever. This was a good defense that in the second half the Bills just manhandled and had their way with. That's not nothing. And so I think they can take a lot out of this game. And like Sean McDermott loves, that first half was littered with stuff to work on. There's going to still be film room to train at.
Film room's going to
humble some of these guys to continue to play better. And we say it every post game. You don't want to be playing your best ball. Even though we saw some of the best ball they played this year in the second half, the Bills still haven't put together. The Jaguars was probably a complete game, but now we see how the Jaguars kind of look. They haven't put together a full, complete game, in my opinion, yet to the best of their capability.
Yeah, this is now a situation where I don't know if anybody's going to have 5 scoring drives and 328 yards against the Titans in any half this season. That's probably the worst half of defense they're going to have all season. This is a talented defense with some really, really impactful players. So we'll see where that ends up taking them, but feels good to be in this spot now. The Bills now have the largest scoring differential in the league, feeling a lot better at 5-2. Are there, obviously in a dominant position from the division standpoint, with home games remaining against all 3 teams and an extra game against the Patriots. So feeling really good about the position that they're in after some frustrating moments, some, kind of iffy games, a rough start to this game. Everyone should be feeling a lot better now that this game's in hand.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to get out and enjoy some of this Western Europe. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to head over to Ted's and get myself a victory hot dog. I like that.
I like that. I'm going to go grill some more stuff. I'm going to grill some chicken for my wife and I.
There you go. And hey, it tastes better after a victory. So
it does. Everything tastes better after a victory. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Again, as Chris, awesome producer Chris Kepner, put on the bottom of the screen there, press that like button on the way out. Leave us a comment. Leave us a chat. Go into the chat and just help us with the algorithm. Let us know the craziest thing that we said here today, or just say the most outlandish thing that you can think of to put into the chat. See if you can make Aaron or I laugh, and we try to answer almost all the comments here. So check out what's going on there. We appreciate it. If you have time, sign up for the One Pass. Today was a great example of where kind of had us in the first half in the Discord channel, but the second half was a party and was awesome and a ton of fun. Come on over and join us. We appreciate you guys. But on behalf of producer Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You have been listening to the Cover One Buffalo podcast, and we are